Jason Bourne fans, and welcome to my Season 1, Episode 1 review of Treadstone, which is a TV show based on the Jason Bourne franchise, and is what I'm going to be reviewing to kick off my 2021-22 summer special. Yes, you heard that correctly. I'm combining both years. As you recall, last year, I did not have a summer special. So this year I'm making up for it by reviewing two franchises instead of just one. The Treadstone TV show from the Jason Bourne franchise is going to be the first, and of course the King Kong film franchise will be the other one. But we're kicking off this summer special with the Treadstone TV series. So last time I probably did a review of Miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir, or maybe even a Let's Play of Spider-Man. Depends on, whatever I uploaded at the end of May. But regardless, today I'll be covering Season 1, Episode 1 of Treadstone, titled The Cicada Protocol, or The Cicada Protocol, however you want to pronounce that, which was released on September 24th, 2019. So the short synopsis of the episode is, in the world of Jason Bourne, agents across the globe are awakening to resume their deadly missions. As far as this TV show goes, I'm not sure how fans of the Jason Bourne franchise even feel about the show. I don't hear it talked about much, and considering it was a very short-lived show, I'm not expecting anything grand or anything amazing. But that shouldn't, stop me from giving the show a chance and seeing if maybe there are some bright spots, because, as you all know, I'm a fan of Jason Bourne. I love the movies. I even back in 2016, when I started this channel, had a review, or a reaction review, while I was vlogging, of the Jason Bourne movie. So, I'm not new to this franchise, but this TV show I'm not familiar with. I did hear about it, and I did try to watch it because I heard the next Bourne film is apparently supposed to tie in with this TV show, which I don't even know if the next Bourne film is even going to happen, but regardless, I figured let's take a look at the episode to see whether I think it's a good or bad episode of Treadstone. The episode begins in 1973 with a CIA agent, John Randolph Bentley, held prisoner by KGB agent Petra, who used behavior modification protocol to torture Bentley into an obedient super spy. Sings a French nursery rhyme called Furey Jacques, if that's how you pronounce it. Bentley was made to kill 3 people at her command, and due to his conditioning, he thought he was killing enemy combatants in a war zone. Petra, feeling triumphant, proclaims that he is ready. However, Petra's victory is short-lived because when Dr. Mesner was attending to Bentley afterwards, Bentley snapped and killed Mesner doing so, which was originally his mission. After killing him, he flees through the facility fighting guards until he gets to a morgue. There, he dropped one of the bodies out the window and disguises himself as a corpse, which gets most of his pursuers off his trail, and they go to inspect his body. However, Petra, who sensed something is wrong, stops and returns to the morgue only to find Bentley there on his feet. Disappointed that her conditioning failed, Petra attacks Bentley and eventually has him defeated at gunpoint. She has him right there, but Bentley outsmarts her as, he flashes a camera blinding her. Also during the struggle, Petra loses a pinky finger during the fight, and he's able to escape through the roof. So he pretty much dodges and defeats the agents pursuing him across the buildings, and he eventually escapes down a side alley. After this opening, we cut to the present day in Langley, Virginia, a very familiar place in the Bourne franchise, might I add, at the George Bush Center for Intelligence, where CIA Chief of Operations Ellen Becker becomes aware of General Chin Hua Kwan requesting an audience with disgraced journalist Tara Coleman. This is because Coleman's career had been terminated under suspicious circumstances following her investigation into Stiletto 6, which is a decommissioned Russian nuclear missile on the black market. Ellen dispatches a London-based agent, Matt Edwards, to intercept her in order to listen in on a potentially vital conversation between the general and Coleman. So Edwards enters Coleman's vehicle, as she is pretty much a cab driver now, and he propositions her to take a recording device to the meeting in exchange for restoring her reputation as a journalist. This persuades Coleman, and she agrees, and during the meeting with Kwan, mentions that someone has been awakening the cicadas, and that Treadstone has started again. Kwan then destroys Coleman's recording device as he notices it, and although Edwards wants to immediately make entry, Becker has him stand down. Not really sure why. Maybe she doesn't want to create a scene, most likely. Doesn't want, something to go down. And pretty much at the mention of Treadstone, Becker's superior, Dan Levine, orders the Situation Room to be clear of personnel because Becker demands to know if the Treadstone program had truly been shut down. Because as we know, in the first movie, this organization was closed. It was shut. They terminated the program. But Levine only tells her that it was bigger than they realized and that Kwan was a part of it, but he refuses to say it definitely if the program is over. While this is going on, meanwhile, Kwan reveals that he only mentioned Treadstone to mislead the CIA and give the full story to Coleman, as he didn't want them listening in on this conversation. He wants to have a heart-to-heart with Coleman about something very important that she might be interested in. He tells Coleman to stop a rogue group in North Korea from buying the launch codes to Stiletto 6 from Yuri Lenioff by getting them herself first. Although she has really no idea what, she can really do in this situation, she doesn't know where to start, what to do, what her role is even in this. Kwan gives her instructions to retrieve her daughter, his daughter, in Jiang Mi in France, and to go to the Ecuadorian embassy in Paris, where the ambassador will help her. But when she kind of gets reluctant and she isn't sure if she wants to go down this path and if it really is worth, going on this adventure for him, Kwan begs her to help him save his family and asks her to tell Jiang Mi that he loves her before departing. Afterward, Coleman doesn't reveal anything to Edwards about what happened during their conversation. Next, we go to Pyongyang, North Korea, where a Korean piano tutor, Suhan Pak, goes about her daily life until her son, Jinwoo Pak, revealed that he had a Game Boy mysteriously appear in his locker at school. Now, apparently, this is illegal in North Korea, so Soo-yeon takes the Game Boy, and hides it so that way he doesn't get into trouble and nothing happens. She doesn't want to get him or her arrested. But when she turns it on later, it plays Furet Jacques, which is the French nursery rhyme from earlier, and this activates her and opens up something, awakens her to something that she was a part of. So she quickly smashes the Game Boy, only to see a needle and a piece of paper with the address 3200 Ponghua Street written on it. So now, as usual, Pat goes to work the next day, but quickly makes a bathroom excuse when her boss is gone, and tells her student to keep playing the piano. And she goes to the top of the building and is shimmying across the wire to the building across the street. And there, she confronts, guess who? General Kwan. And was shocked to realize that she understands English when he addresses her in that language. She doesn't realize that she can speak or understand English. So Kwan then attacks her and manages to knock the needle aside into the shower drain, but Pac succeeds anyway by strangling him. He does question her at first, trying to figure out, what he, who her boss is, who orders her, to go after him. But he doesn't get any answers, and we don't get any answers. But I'm sure the later episodes will go into it more in depth. But even though she is distraught that she can't recover the needle, she returns to her job without, her pupil noticing. Next, we go to the Beaufort Sea in Alaska, where we are introduced to Doug McKenna, who was fired as an oil derrickman in favor of a Russian crew. So he returns to Prudhoe Bay to drink his sorrows away, and he comes into conflict with the very Russians who took his job. McKenna urges civility at first. He doesn't really want to fight them. He just tells them to back off and leave the girl and him, that he's, conversing with alone. But of course, they're picking on him. They assault him instead, and to his surprise, he finds out that he can defeat all of them using skills he never even knew he had. He then leaves kind of in confusion because he doesn't know what happened. He's never fought, so well before. He doesn't know how these skills came upon him. This is like this is something new to him. But he's convinced by a woman who he met in the bar earlier to tend to his wounds. So they go back to her place, and McKenna kind of expresses his confusion over his identity to her. And not sure whether he just doesn't know, what's going on with him now, and really know who he is anymore. So the woman brings out some French wine to, ease the conversation, but she hums, guess what? Firé Jacques, the same nursery rhyme. Man, that nursery rhyme just gets around. When she kind of hums it while she's, getting the wine during this. And of course, McKenna becomes increasingly interested in the song, so she sings it out loud, which, of course, fully activates him. And McKenna doesn't really remember anything, and then the next scene we see McKenna in, he finds himself lying in the Alaskan tundra with a strange bag next to him. Lastly, we go to an old farming couple residing in Kursk, Russia. We meet a husband, Oleg Popov, who has just received a package with a brand new hearing aid in it. His wife's not, very happy about it, and she angrily demands to know where he got the money from. And he admits that he sold their best bull for that money. And this kind of makes her angrier and sours her mood further. And she calls him an idiot, but when he finds that he could hear again, he can hear perfectly for the first time in years, Popoff is so happy that he doesn't even really care what his wife just said to him. He's now calling himself a happy man, and Popoff is listening to music and he's dancing, and he tries to dance with his wife, who's a bit reluctant to dance with, but he persuades her and gets her to dance with him until he hears a strange electronic buzzing noise coming from the barn. And his wife kind of takes his hearing aid away, claiming it to be at fault, that it's just, something maybe going awry. Maybe he's just hearing something, hearing things that aren't there. But later on, Popoff steals it back as she sleeps, and he decides to investigate the sound. So he follows the sound into the barn, and he discovers a hidden entrance in the barn leading to a shaft underground. So pretty much after descending and traversing a short tunnel, he passes through a metal door into a large dark room filled with alarm sounds. So because this is all very loud for him and it kind of bugs him, Popoff takes his hearing aid, off, and to his surprise, he notices his wife right behind him. And he explains to her that he said he knew that he heard a sound, but he kind of becomes unnerved when his wife doesn't respond to, telling her like, hey, I heard something, I was right. And once he notices the sickle in her hand, she stabs him with it, saying that she tried to warn him. So yeah, she knew about it. She was hiding from him, and she can't have him squealing to anybody. So she fucking kills him, and right there. So Popoff pretty much drops to the floor and bleeds to death, and then we see the wife, who has no pinky finger, hint hint, meaning that guess who? It's Petra from the beginning, who's been guarding Stiletto 6 years after the USSR collapse, and this missile has been housed in this very chamber ever since the collapse. And so with that, the episode ends back in 1973 with a much younger Petra, who goes with a strike team to apprehend Bentley, knowing he'll head to the American safe house in East Berlin. But Bentley beats them there, setting out a distress signal to his fellow Americans before hiding under the staircase when he hears them coming. The strike team rushes into the safe house, and they completely miss Bentley, who, under the stairs. They don't see him, and after they all go upstairs, he emerges pretty much from underneath the staircase and steals one of their cars. And after they don't find him, Pietro and the strike team go back outside. They return from the safe house empty-handed, only to find that their cars are all gone. One of their cars are gone, as Bentley joyfully makes good of his escape. I'm going to give Season 1, Episode 1 of Treadstone 2 stars out of 5. Now, just before I go and get into positive and negatives, I do apologize beforehand if I pronounce a lot of these names wrong. These are very foreign names to me. I'm American, so, if I said them wrong, you can tell me how to pronounce it correctly, and I'll correct it in the next episode. But just know that, that I was just explaining it, I wasn't, that I had a good reason, why I, said it wrong. But anyway, let's start with the positives, since, this is a lower ranking episode. So to start, this is pretty obvious, but I really enjoyed the action scenes in this episode. It really felt like action scenes out of the Jason Bourne universe. Those quick cut, shaky cam action scenes, but you can still see it, it's still visible, and it's very good. It was very entertaining. There wasn't a single fight that I found boring. There definitely were, one or two fights that I probably found more better than, other ones. But overall, I enjoyed all the fights. They were all enjoyable and good to watch. And I thought it was pretty entertaining. If you're going to make a Jason Bourne TV show, you definitely got to get the action nailed down. And they definitely did a good job with that. Other, major positive of this episode, I think the one character that I like in this episode was Soo Young Pak, the Korean tutor, the Korean piano tutor. I liked her character. I liked her story. You know, out of all of them, I found her to be the most interesting character with the most interesting story. I was more invested in her part of the story. I liked that she was just daily, piano tutor. She was just a regular piano tutor going about her daily life. She had a family. Her son gives her something. It awakens her. She realizes that there's a part of her that she didn't even know about, and she does a really good job as a sneaky, assassin. I thought the way she handled her mission was pretty incredible. I was invested all the way. I thought her character was the best. You know, I think the where I just didn't find the other. I think she was the standout. Among the other characters. But that's all I got. I really got for positives. So I think it's about time we get into the negatives with this episode. And boy, do I have a lot of them. So I guess to start off, let's go into the plot of the episode. I didn't like it. I found it very uninteresting and pretty too complex for a tiny bit complex for even a Jason Bourne universe story. Yes, Jason Bourne. The stories in Jason Bourne universe involve the government and all that. So there are bound to be a bit complex stories. But I can still follow those movies pretty well and get what's going on and be interested in this. In this one, I have no fucking clue. They just keep jumping around to character, not really staying on one person. The good thing about Jason Bourne movies is that they stick with either Jason Bourne, or if you even want to go with Bourne Legacy, stick with Aaron Cross, one character, and it's much easier to follow. Whereas where you have multiple characters and you keep jumping back and forth in different areas, I know they're trying to maybe set up the stories so we can be invested in it, but I would have liked maybe one is good, two okay, that's fine, three going a little bit overboard, okay, but four, I don't know why we need a four. It's just weird. I think it would have been better had we just either focused on maybe one or two people, or I would have focused on an individual character each episode, build on each episode with one character, and then if their stories intertwine, great. If not, just keep telling them individually. But having this so many characters and this plot being a bit too complex was a bit too much for me. There was really no explanation on what all these characters were after and who were they working for, how their stories are connected. I mean, you could say that the Cicada Protocol is what connected them. They're probably working under Treadstone. But we don't get much of an explanation on who's controlling them. It's just these different people. I'm hoping that future episodes at least expand upon it. But I gotta say, I did not, it's definitely not a good start. This is the episode. The pilot should be, it should give you the information. I should know, get information and should know what's going on. But the fact of the matter is that they just didn't explain that to us. But again, maybe future episodes will explore this, and maybe they might explain it. I don't know. Hopefully they will. But and but like I said, besides the tutor, I found the other characters uninteresting. And another thing too is that the tutor, I have a lot more information about her. I know about her. She has a family. She's a piano tutor, has a daily life. She doesn't know about this assassin type of thing. And then it's something new to her. I found I had enough information to be invested in her character. The other characters like Bentley and McKenna, or any of the other stories we followed, I didn't know anything about Bentley and McKenna's stories. I didn't know much about them. McKenna's an oil derrickman who gets fired after a Russian crew, in favor of Russian crew. Finds out he has skills, and that's it. Nothing really too much. You could maybe for some people that might be enough, but I don't know. I didn't. McKenna didn't have go do it for me. Bentley, I don't even know what was going on with him. I mean, Bentley, he was, from what I gather, he's supposed to be like an American, assassin who was supposed to go in and kill, Petra and, the people in there, Dr. Mesner, all those people. But that's really all we got. I don't know. I just felt like we didn't have enough information about McKenna and Bentley, that I just didn't find them interesting in the slightest. They had good scenes, when it came to action, but other than that, I did not find their characters investing at all. I just did not know what their goals were. What were they after? Who were they working for? How did they tie in with the other characters? What is the connection? And as far as the villain goes, I guess, we got Pietra as the villain, and she's alright, she's okay. But again, I didn't get enough story about her either to really be invested either. So why should I really care about her as a villain if I don't really get much for her? All I get is that she just wants to, sell. Maybe they want, people want to buy Stiletto 6 from her. She's housed it for, after the USSR collapsed. And, we see her in 1973 going after American agent. She tried to, convert them into, an enemy. But that's all we got. I didn't know much about. We don't even know how she met her husband. I mean, not that that's important. He's fucking dead now. But I just felt like there wasn't enough for her that I couldn't care for as a villain. That's really my main issue with this episode. There's just not enough information with enough of these characters. The plot is a bit too complex for me, and it's just not interesting enough for a Jason Bourne universe story. If they focus maybe on one person or one character and maybe build on it each episode, I think that would have helped it better. But as it stands, I think Soo Young Pak was definitely the best one out of all of them. She was the most interesting and had enough information where I could be invested in her character, and I actually look forward to seeing her character on more adventures. But I'm hopefully McKenna and maybe Bentley might get more information, and maybe I'll be interested in their characters, and maybe Pietra might be billed as a villain too. I don't know. We'll have to see. But so far, I'm not impressed. There just wasn't enough for me to get in the story, invest in the story, because I did not know their goals or motivation or who they were working for. And yes, I didn't know that for Soo Young Pak, or what her goals or motivate or her boss was. But I felt like I had enough information to where I was okay with sticking it out and going past those flaws, because she had enough information to make me care about her. And yes, McKenna McKenna had that daily life thing too, where he was an oil derrickman and then gets fired. Bentley, Bentley was just like a fucking agent. We didn't even get anything daily about him at all. So yeah, I would say overall, I do not recommend this episode to fans and newcomers of the Treadstone show or the Jason Bourne franchise in general. I don't think it's downright awful. I'm not saying that, but I think it's not. As a pilot to the show, I don't think it's a good start to the show. I think there were better ways to do it, and I just was not impressed. But I hope the story will, be better explained and explored in future episodes. But we'll have to see. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Please give it a like if you did. Comment down below your thoughts on the episode. Do you think you agree with me? You think it's good? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Somewhere in the middle. Do you think I was being too harsh on it? Do you think my explanations are bad, or do you agree with me and have these same sentiments? I'm curious for your thoughts. So let me know. And subscribe for more Jason Bourne content like this, or if you're just interested in any of my other content. You can also follow me on Facebook, where I have polls for future videos, updates on both of my channels, and discussions about what we talk about on both my channels. And Twitch, where I hope to live stream in the future. But in my next video, during the summer special, I will be reviewing King Kong from 1933, the original King Kong. Can't wait to dive into that. One of my favorite classic monster movies. So excited. So if you're interested in that, be on the lookout. That's going to be next. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace out.